I have a question for you.
Okay.
Are we gonna talk about are we gonna do our Ranger presentations?
It's a good question, and the answer is that I won't be because I haven't made mine yet. But we can do them
Okay.
separately too.
That could be the thing is I do have one ready,
Yes, I
but
got your email.
yeah. Um
And if you
we could
present
yeah.
yours before I make mine, I promise not to steal all of your ideas.
Okay.
So
I'm
if
not
that
really worried
helps,
about that.
yeah. I could tell, I could hear it in your voice. You're like, are we presenting our because I'm afraid of plagiarism.
Yeah, that's a crime.
Yeah.
I
And
could
it's not a
arrest you.
victimless crime either.
No. I mean, can you imagine if I was like a movie company or a Hollywood?
A Hollywood? Ew, I actually can't imagine that. I would never be friends with a
Thank you.
Hollywood.
That's really nice. Thank you. I'm glad that you are friends with me, thereby affirming that I am not a Hollywood.
Ew. Ew. If there are any Hollywoods out here watching this video, boo, get out.
Get, go
This is
on, get out of here.
for you.
Go on, get.
Go on,
Sorry.
get out of here. Get.
Go on.
We don't need you here. Go run.
I do think that the tiny horse skit with Timothy Chalamet
Mhm.
was the greatest performance of his career.
Oh yeah, I think that's a fact. Well,
It's a
that's
given,
the
right?
greatest, and then like the second or third greatest probably is when he's doing like the hip hop round table with Pete Davidson.
Funny.
Funny.
My
I think
favorite line from that one. He has this moment where he goes, "Talking about," and that's the sentence.
yeah, that's it. He's not
Talking
actually
about.
talking about anything. He's just talking about it is funny.
That's that's really good.
And I
Yeah.
like
Hmm.
his ad libs are just like so basic, like SoundCloud rapper or like nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
drop that,
the whole
skirt that. Yeah, it's funny.
and the hiding the face, that's good.
That's
But
good. It's like Stefan coded.
it,
Like I'm gonna break.
yeah. You was in Yo Gabba Gabba? His delivery of that line keeps me up at night because it's not how a normal person would deliver that. It's there's something about it that's so odd. You was in Yo Gabba Gabba? Why do you say it
Yeah.
like that? That's funny.
Yeah, nobody says it. I feel like usually you emphasize the last GABA, not the first one. Yo Gabba Gabba.
Yeah.
But he says Yo
Yeah.
Gabba Gabba. And it's
Yeah.
just odd enough. Yeah. I think that he's in too many movies, but maybe it's a necessary evil because he keeps appearing on SNL and I really like him on SNL.
Me too. Yeah, he's really good.
He's really good on SNL.
Yeah, he's so talented. I just haven't seen him in very many comedies. He's really good in Dune. I
Yeah.
think he's really good at playing like a scrinkly
I mean, he
little
is
white
a
boy who thinks he's a messiah figure, you know?
right.
I
Well,
can
he's
buy that.
French. So it's like, yeah, this makes sense to me.
Mm,
But I do
yeah,
think
okay.
his comedy is maybe underutilized. I'm tired of seeing him in serious roles.
Absolutely.
I've seen it.
Yeah. Hmm.
So if there are any Hollywoods watching, even though I told you to leave, in this case, you can stay as long as you only take my advice.
Yeah, well, we know they don't keep their word, so if they were here then, they're here now still.
That's true. Yeah, they'll be like,
Yeah.
"Oh no, I'm not watching."
Mhm.
I would never do that.
Oh, it says only the host can share in this meeting.
Oh, that's because I can change that right now. I have the
Yes.
like allow all participants to options and but some of them are on all the time. Like you can chat, you can rename yourself, you can, start the videos and whatever. But then share
Mhm.
screen isn't selected, so I have to select it every time. I don't know why it isn't just in my permanent settings, but I've had to change it every single time somebody wants to share their screen. but it should work now.
You can rename yourself.
It's
I'm
funny.
infinitely prouder of that than anything I accomplished in school.
It's a funny name.
Funny name. Yeah. We were talking at work the other day, and Noah comes up in chats every now and then, and he was like, "Yeah, this thing will be super easy," and I was like, "Oh, just like your mom," and he's like, "That's low," and I said, "Just like how your mom got last night," and he just kept giving. This happened like 3 or 4 times in a row. I was like, he kept getting more and more agitated about it. Like it wasn't. He wasn't trying to do it. He wasn't feeding me information on purpose. I was
Right,
like, "Oh, I
right.
thought we were." Yeah, like, dude, you
It's
can't.
like you were riffing and he was like getting confounded at every turn.
Yeah.
Oh no.
This is something, and I mentioned this before, but I am still confused by the fact that people get offended at your mom jokes.
Right.
Like
Like
this
they're
happened with
not,
Josh
it's
months
not
and months ago, but
highbrow humor, but I think it's just like a cultural acceptance. Like if somebody tells a your mom joke, you know that it's just like dumb fun and there's no reason to be
yeah,
offended by it. It's not somebody who like knows your mom and actually did
no.
anything with your mom. Like
Yeah. That was the other thing he said. He's like, my mom's a lovely lady, actually. I was like, babe, I know.
like don't I know it? She treated me right last night.
Like, yeah, it is the lowest form of humor. It's not clever. It's not difficult.
No.
So, like, why are you making it that much easier for me to get under your skin with it? Like,
Right, right.
it's
Yeah.
even more embarrassing for you.
It's like embarrassing that you would be offended by your mom joke when
Yeah,
everyone
yeah.
knows they're stupid. You're gonna get mad at something
Just
that's
like mom.
stupid? That's so cringe.
Ugh.
Yikes.
Um, well, how's your week been?
It's pretty good. Oh, I have to tell you something. Um, which isn't, it's like not even a story, but that's what makes it interesting.
Okay.
Okay, this guy Mason that I've told you about before, he taught me about quarters, the game of
I
quarters.
know Mason. Yeah, the
Yeah,
one whose
yeah.
name is not spelled
It's
Macyn.
not
Yeah.
Macyn. That's, yeah. We're not assuming that in any way. It
Mm-hmm.
is spelled the regular way, but it's not my friend Mason from high school who would rate things on a jelly bean scale.
Yeah, I remember
Different
him.
Mason.
Okay, okay, I'm
Yeah.
with you so far.
He on Thursday, like probably around this time, between 4 and 5 p.m. my time, he called me. And he doesn't usually call me. And so I thought he probably had a reason, like he was going to ask me to do something like in church or like socially, or how
Yeah.
when people call you and it's unusual, it's usually because they have a reason.
Yes.
Yeah. So he didn't. He just called and he's like, "Hey, how have you been?" And I'm like, "Oh, good, just going to school." And he's like, "Yeah, I never see you on campus." I'm like, "Yeah, what building are you in usually?" And he's like, "Oh, like the MC." And I'm like, "Yeah, maybe I should spend more time there and we can run into each other." And he's like, "Yeah, totally." And then he just was like, "Well, it's really good to hear from you. Thanks for chatting. I'll see you around." And I was like, "Okay, sure." And he's like, "Okay, bye," and hung up. It literally was a 1 minute phone call, 60 seconds. And he had like he didn't say anything.
How odd.
And it was weird because we're not like close enough to call each other for no reason, I thought.
Uh-huh.
But then here he is just calling, but he didn't have anything to say. But it didn't seem like he was checking in. Like it was almost like because he's in the bishopric now fairly recently. And so it was like
Uh-huh.
you would think that it was something to do with my calling, or like if he was calling me because I'm less active or whatever. But like he was out of town for the whole summer. So I'm like, if you haven't
Uh-huh.
seen me in church, it's mostly because you haven't been there. So it wouldn't be that, right? Because he
No.
didn't say anything about anything. It was 1 minute. And I was like, what?
It's great to hear from you, but he didn't hear from you. You heard
He
from
called
him.
me. he called me, and then we chatted for 1 minute about what buildings we're usually in on campus. And then
Maybe
he's
he's
like,
planning an assassination attempt against you.
right, I was
But
like,
if he were, then why would he be so blatant about it? He's trying to get you, he's trying to figure out what buildings you're at on campus and
it was
trying to convince you to be.
inexplicable.
That's so weird. Yeah, because if you don't talk regularly enough, then you're definitely like, that's gonna be suspicious to the cops
Right. And
investigating
it's
it.
like, right. Because it's not like he and I hang out all the time. And I like him just
Right.
fine. Like I would hang out with him, but he didn't call me to ask me to hang out socially. He called me for no reason. So then I'm like, so we're not hanging out. And if we're not hanging out, why are you calling me?
I
Unprompted for
have
1 minute. It was weird. And so then I was
no
like,
explanation for that.
I went to my friend Emily's house later that night because we hang out every Thursday and watch Dancing with the Stars. So
Fun.
it's super fun. So I was at her house and we were like, catching up before the show started. And I told her about this. I was like, yeah, so Mason called me and she's the Relief Society president. So I was like, if it was a church thing, if they talked about me
She would
before
be in on it.
council, then she would know,
Right.
right? But
Uh-huh.
she looked shocked and surprised. So I was like, okay, so she doesn't know. So then it's definitely nothing to do with church, but it's also probably not anything to do with hanging out socially because he didn't ask me to hang out. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't like, "What are you doing next weekend?" Or, it just was like, "What are you up to right now?" And
Yeah.
I was like, "Homework." And he's like, "Cool." You know what I mean?
Is it possible he called you on accident
No,
and then
because
just tried to play it off?
I don't think so because I didn't answer right away. I was upstairs and my phone was downstairs.
It had
So I
time
had
to
to walk
ring.
downstairs to answer. It had time to ring. He had time to reconsider, but he waited for me to answer and then chatted casually, which is fine. Like, it's not like I didn't want to talk to him. I wouldn't have answered. But it just was weird to have this casual chat unprompted. We usually only talk in person. And it was short enough that it so easily could have just been a text. Like, he could be like, hey, what are you up to? And I'm like, oh, homework, whatever. Like, we could have said the same amount of
Uh-huh.
thing in the same amount of time over text. So why call? It's weird, right?
I can't. I have no answers. I have nothing.
He's a strange man, and I've known this. This is actually why we get along. I find him
Because,
weird and
yeah.
fascinating. That's why I'm friends with
Those tend
anybody.
to be exactly.
Yeah.
That's like the main qualification.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But it was like, yeah, just weird enough that I was like, is it out of character for him? I gotta figure it out.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
that's like a super non-story, but if there's an update, I will let you know because it's
Please
like
do. I'm
inexplicable
this is
behavior.
like that thing in the IT crowd where Roy's girlfriend's parents die in a fire.
I just see
There's a
part.
sea. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. She's like, I'll
It's
tell
like
you once and then we can
it
never
shouldn't be
talk about
anything.
it again. Mason's like, I will call you once for 1 minute and I will never address it again. I mean, it has only been 2 days. So if I see him at church tomorrow, maybe he'll say something. But then also maybe
Maybe.
he won't. Maybe he had something to say and then he'd change his mind. And then I'm gonna see him at church on Sunday and he's gonna not say anything purposely. Who knows?
Uh-huh. Or say something because he decided as you answered that it would be better to talk about it in person, but who
Right.
knows?
But then what would that be that's like so important that he has to talk to me about it in person? But at church, which is a more public place than talking to me on the phone when I'm at my house and he's at his house, right? There's no like
Nothing.
easy answer because he's never called
No.
me for no reason before. Because then I could
Yeah.
just write it off as like, oh, that's just what he does.
Yeah, yeah.
And it sounds like he's never called Emily, Haley, or Shayla for no reason either, because they were the people that I told the story to, and they all were like, huh?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
We'll
Halloween
see,
will
or we
hopefully
won't.
bring some light.
Yeah, like I'm hoping that there's an update so that there's something like some sort of conclusion, because right now it's just like the weirdest thing.
Yeah, yeah.
The 1 minute phone call where nobody really says anything. Yeah, so
I'm the
anyways.
kind of person that like I'd rather die than ever call anybody about anything.
Right. But
So,
about nothing. Maybe that's
Yeah, I could
yeah,
do that. I
yeah.
called Al texted me the other night and she's like, "Hey, call me. I have a drive, so call me if you want to chat." And I did. And we like it's one thing if it's
Sure. But
close
I
buddy
think
of mine
you
or someone
talk
that I
with
have never
Al.
ever talked to.
Yeah, you talk with Al pretty regularly and she's your friend.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that Mason
Yeah.
isn't my friend,
Yeah, but like
but
I think yeah, lowercase friend and
right.
uppercase friend.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like a friend adjacent. Like I know you, I get along well with you. We know that, but like it's
You
not like
don't really
there's
know. There's even been like social events,
yeah.
non-church social events that we've both been invited to that he like
Uh-huh.
hasn't gone to, so we haven't hung out there. You know what I mean? And
I'm
I
gonna
would be
puzzle on
happy
this.
to
Yeah.
if he was ever there, but if he's not there, then we're not hanging out, so then why is he calling me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. I don't know, man. Yeah, keep me updated.
Yeah.
I gotta know more about this. Oh my gosh. Not to change the subject, but I also
No, I
have not.
didn't have anything else to say about the subject, so go ahead.
Okay, I also have not news.
Yes.
You
I think
remember
we should
how?
do a not news segment every week, just talk about the
Yeah,
most mundane but like slightly interesting thing that's happened to us.
we were gonna talk about the worst thing that's ever happened to us, so maybe we could like alternate.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I think it just depends on whether or not we have news.
Beautiful.
We either have a not news
Yeah,
moment or a bad news moment.
obviously not a good news moment.
No, that would be crazy. That's
I'm
fine.
not gonna be that optimistic. Okay, I
Yeah.
put it in its special little folder. I got an
Wow.
email at work this week. We get updates from Cat Police every now and then. Not
Okay.
every now and then, probably about 50 a day about some
Okay.
door or road that has been closed for some reason,
So
some
it
suspicious
is
package.
every now and then, like all of them.
All of them. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
doing this right now. We're closing it for right now. We're reopening it for this reason. It is the definition of someone who just like you don't need to be updating me as much as you're updating me. You can just
Right.
do your job and I'll just assume you're doing it, you know?
Right. Right. Yeah.
Um, this one was a summary review of October 1st, 2024, Dirksen and Hart Senate building evacuation. Do you remember how I was detained
I do.
on Tuesday, October 1st after
Yes.
the evacuation?
I
Yep.
really
Read
do.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I do too.
I'm so
Um,
excited.
After the buildings were cleared for re-entry, a Capitol Police canine alerted to a bag held by an individual waiting to re-enter the building. Capitol Police halted entry through nearby doors, cleared the immediate area, and relocated staff to Dirksen office building. Blah 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 blah. An alert message should have been sent to the Senate staff, alerting of the relocation, but was not. That's why no one knew where I was.
Mhm.
Um, a
Mhm.
mistake that has been addressed. Was it though? The bag was
Interesting.
determined to be harmless, and staff were allowed to return to their offices. I noticed though that they did not mention that it was for 2 hours
Yes.
and
They
that it was
also,
a crying woman on the ground in a puddle in a
yeah, they didn't
skirt.
mention the puddle, I was gonna say. Yeah.
Yeah, no puddle. Um,
Yeah. Which is weird because
so
I thought the puddle was kind of a key player in that whole event.
it was more present in this story than any other element.
Yeah. Fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We get so many of them. I just click on them to mark them as read.
Right.
I didn't even pay it any attention, but Jen was reading through it and she's like, "Oh my gosh, is this you?" And we freaked out. We were laughing so
You're
hard.
like,
And the thing is,
I'm famous.
it's a let's go. No one else was even in the office at this time. Everyone had left. So it was just her and me. I couldn't even go
Wow.
around bragging about it.
That's funny.
Yeah, but it was very, very exciting.
Yay.
Anyway, there's my a little
Non-news.
bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
A good
Thanks.
follow-up too. Um, I'm gonna the clickbait hurricane video is scheduled to post tomorrow. So this will be a great
Yes.
follow-up to that.
Fantastic, fantastic. I'm
Yeah.
just remembering right now that I sent Allison a snap about
Yeah,
how I hadn't told her
stop
the story
about
and then still have not.
yeah. I do
I was
remember that how you were like, Allison, I can't believe I've never told you this story. I was like, I can.
offline.
That's incredibly believable. You still haven't. But it's good because then you can just send her the link to the video.
That would work. Oh, can I do my Lone Ranger presentation before we talk about Knives Out?
Yes, please do.
Yay. Okay, let's see if this
Yay.
works. Yeah, we can do screen. Okay,
Wow.
you can
Screen
see?
broadcast. Yay.
Yay. Okay.
It says Butt Fart Man screen on the top. Yay. I've never been happier.
Oh, hell yeah. Don't look at it. Don't look at
Okay,
it.
sorry. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
How I would have fixed the Lone Ranger 2013 by Whitney Z. Borer. Watch this one instead. Or this one.
hmm True.
That one.
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great
Um,
story.
or this one.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Um, just to kind of run through, we have most of the elements contained in this movie. This was why it was number one.
Right.
We have Masked
That's
Man.
like the closest match.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Masked Man, evil, like authority figure. We have the blonde soldier guy who also is evil.
Sure.
That's,
Yeah.
that's good. This one goes without saying. We all know,
Yeah. Cannibalism, Western expansion,
et cetera, et
accurate
cetera.
native representation, et cetera. We've all seen it.
Yes, we've all seen it. This one was a little bit, it's like a little bit more of a reach, I guess. It's man who is presumed dead, returns under a disguise,
Mm.
and you know, it's like it doesn't even have to be any related to the Lone Ranger story. Just it's just a better option. If you
It's
want any of the
way
elements
better.
that the Lone Ranger 2013 tried to do, watch any of these movies and it will have been a better waste, better spent, better what how to
Use.
better use of your time. Thank you
Yeah.
very much. And that's the end of my presentation. Thank you. Thank
Yay.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
It's a really great
Um,
presentation. I did think
thanks.
for a moment that it was just going to be the first slide. Watch this instead. And that would have been funny enough, frankly.
Yeah, I did think about that as well, but
Yeah.
then I also really like Spirit Stallion of the Cimarron.
Yeah. And I think,
So
not enough people maybe are talking about it.
no, I I say this without any scratch of irony whatsoever. Every theme that the Lone Ranger tried to address is answered so much better in Spirit Stallion of the Cimarron. And that's because it's an early DreamWorks movie, baby. They knew what they were doing.
hmm
Okay, yeah. I also, you probably saw, but I have another presentation that I am getting ready. I didn't finish that one in time.
Okay.
I just
That's
did the joke
okay.
one. Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, but I do have actual ideas for,
Yeah.
you know,
That's okay. I mean, we could have a whole month where all of our uploads are just different, better versions of the Lone Ranger
fun.
2013.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
If we're ever having just kind of an off month and we don't meet a lot, we can just we have all our presentations saved. We just post those. People won't even know the difference, probably.
No, I certainly won't.
Yeah. Like, wow, cool. These guys have some really good ideas. Next
How
episode. We never know.
are you?
I'm good. What's weird about
Good.
this is that every single week when we meet, we're like, I feel like it's been longer than a week. And now, in this time, it has been longer than a week.
Me too.
But it feels kind of the same as usually.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So that's interesting. But
Yeah.
I like your outfit.
Thank you. I like yours. You're wearing red and
Thank
white.
you.
I also am
Yes,
wearing,
and gray.
and is that blue there on the bottom?
It's
Or is
just gray.
that's the gray that you're talking about? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But then this is blue, so maybe that's what you were
that
saying.
is. Sure. Yeah. So we're both wearing red, white, and blue.
That's weird.
because we're
That's
so
pretty
patriotic.
that's pretty patriotic for this channel. I mean, that's in line with how we usually behave on this channel.
We love America so much.
Yeah, and I feel like every day it just
Loudly.
gets better and better. Yeah, we're
That's
loud and
true.
proud Americans.
That's true.
I thought you
Jen,
were.
yeah, he's here. He's trying to eat my salad, and I'm not gonna let him. And he hates me for it. But it's mine. And he doesn't
Yeah,
get dinner for 2 more hours.
yeah,
Jen
I
this week
understand.
at work found a magazine that had a really funny, like bald eagle, typical like Americana spread on it. It was like God bless America, had like
Yeah.
stars everywhere. It was awesome. We both thought it was hilarious. So she pinned it on her board. Um, and it's great because we work in a place where we know that it's up there kind of ironically,
Yeah.
but everyone
But
else is like,
everybody else could see it and
hey,
be like,
I
wow,
like that.
good for you. Yeah,
Yep, yep.
that
So we're
rock.
finding we're finding, you know, bonuses to our lives.
Yeah, that's great. My friend Haley lives with her uncle, and he has a truck that he bought secondhand that has a bunch of like bumper stickers and window decals on it that he just didn't bother to take off. And one of them is like God, guns, and glory, or so. There's like four G's and like super super American like macho, bumper sticker, And it's so funny because it's like it's not like a lifted truck, but it's still, just like a big red truck with all these like manly American bumper stickers on the back. And then she will step out of it. God, guts, guns, and glory. That's what it is.
Oh,
Guts is
hell
the fourth
yeah.
G. Yeah.
I think that she should add a fifth G and it should just be
Gatorade.
grease. Gatorade. That's good. Yeah.
You could just listing words to start with G and make like a second bumper sticker.
Just keeps going. I love
Yeah,
it.
just super long. It's like the entire back window has like a decal, but just with G words.
I'm thinking too, it just keeps going down the bed of the truck, so you
Yeah,
can't see it unless you're
it
above
like
it.
lines the whole. Yeah, that's very funny.
Oh my gosh, this is cute. Hold on. Sometimes Archie likes to go up there
Oh,
because he likes to be tall, and so he'll
his
just,
little head.
yeah, yeah,
That's so
look at
cute.
him. That's where he likes to sleep. This is one of the things that I've learned about cats is like dogs go out of their way to be as
Hmm.
comfortable as they can possibly be.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know why cats do this. It's like they go out of their way to sleep on sharp metal angular objects at angles that you'd think their spines wouldn't be able to bend at.
Right, but then you have to remember their spines are made of jello, so they
That
can
is
bend
that
however.
is that is true. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I don't know. I think their just priorities are a little bit different. Maybe your cat is masochistic.
Sure, why not?
I don't know.
Mm.
Well, would you like to finish your salad while I present how I would fix the Lone Ranger?
I was gonna ask if you'd be willing.
I
I'm gonna
am
tell you
willing.
also, I'm really looking forward to this. Um, and just so you don't get your hopes too high, I didn't finish my presentation. I have enough done. I'm gonna present either way. I'm
That's
just,
fine.
it's not good. Don't expect a lot.
That is okay. I just have to find my slides.google.com really quick. Okay, wait, hold on, don't look yet. It's a secret. It's not in presentation mode. Okay, okay. I think it's okay now. Okay, this is the how I would fix the Lone Ranger, parentheses 2013, because I think the other ones are probably fine. I haven't really looked that much into it. Um, and also just as a side note, it's a very anti-Johnny Depp presentation, of course. So first, I just kind of went through some of the characters of the movie and how I would fix them. I don't remember the name of this character, but I do remember that she's played by Helena Bonham Carter. So for the duration of the presentation, I will just be referring to her as Helena Bonham Carter. Um, for her, I think. Oh, did you have a question?
I was gonna look through and see if there was a raise hand button, but I couldn't find it. Her name is Red. You can continue to call her Helena Bonham Carter, but
Oh,
I just
okay.
thought I'd
I
contribute
I
that.
will. Okay. So I think this was the main issue that I had with this character, where she's like, get back what he took from me, and she sits down on the couch right next to the huge portrait of herself dancing. I think they could have perhaps made that more part of her character in a subtle way. Or they could also have just given her more screen time so they didn't have to be so heavy-handed with it. This is a 2.5 hour long movie. And what's the justification for this if the best character in the movie is barely on screen? She has a prosthetic leg that's also a gun, and you're gonna give her 5 minutes? Ridiculous. Here's what I think is cool about this character that we could have utilized more in this movie. If you're gonna adapt the Lone Ranger for a modern audience and you're gonna include these elements, cool, like do that. Frankly, she should have had her own movie. She was cooler.
Woo! Amen. Yeah.
Okay. The next character is, of course, Tonto. The first thing that I have to say about Tonto is don't hire Johnny Depp, a white man with like dubious mixed heritage, to play Tonto, who's 100% Native American. There are so many indigenous actors who like need screen time. You know what I mean? We don't know about them because we're hiring white guys instead. My next point, I felt like while one of the things we discussed in the movie was like, I can't tell if it's supposed to be funny or serious. And a lot of his backstory, like for example, if he like betrays his whole nation and he's one of the only survivors, blah blah blah, that could be like a really deep and interesting thing. So this column, we're saying maybe we lean into the horror a little bit. Maybe we talk about like he has to reconcile what he's done as he faces Cavendish's victims, like Helena Bonham Carter. He's like, oh, wait, I did something wrong. And he has to kind of come to terms with that. It also, like, we don't have to have the whole Wendigo thing. If you're gonna talk about that, make him from the right indigenous nation. As it is, it says right there, he's Native American of some kind, right? Depending on the adaptation. So just pick the right one or leave it alone. My other options, of course, he could lead into kind of the comedy a little bit more. In which case, you don't need all that. It could be more slapstick. You could do like we're talking about the funny beats of the movie, like for example, when he's like, and then he absolutely kills them with like a huge log. That's funny. When they get shot with an arrow and he goes, like he screams like Gus from Psych. That's funny. Okay, we can keep these elements, and it's much more entertaining. Either he is this really like he has this dark and twisted past, or he's like the side character in like a buddy cop comedy. You know what I mean? If you can't strike a balance between the two, just pick one or the other. Next character that I remembered being in the movie, because again, I did not do any research. I just was like, whatever. Obviously, it's the Lone Ranger. He's the titular character. And again, it comes back to the question, is this a comedy or is it a horror? If it's a comedy, we can keep his image of like that he's trying to be a lawyer, but he's bad at it, or he's good at it, but he's pretending to be bad at it. Like he could still go to Reds and be like, there's a lot of health code violations, blah blah blah. If it was funny, if it had been funny, that could have worked. Next, I mean, Westerns are kind of known. There's like an entire subgenre of Western called spaghetti Western. Okay, it's campy, it's funny. Why did they not just do that if they wanted it to be funny? If it's a horror, though, it could still be, they're wrestling with these kind of bigger ideas of right and wrong and, what should they have done, what should they have not done, et cetera, et cetera. And then at the end of the movie, he becomes the Lone Ranger, right? He's the last just man standing in the Wild West. And he kind of overcomes the dangers that they've faced over this, again, 2.5 hour long movie. Um, Also, his brother could still die as a victim of Cavendish's treachery and cannibalism. But then that's the horrible part. And then over the course of the movie, he overcomes this by becoming a better person, by becoming the person his brother would have wanted him to be, et cetera, et cetera. That could have been interesting if this was a good movie, right? But then also for this to be a good movie, he has to be a better character. Like whether it's a comedy or a horror, yeah, like he has to have an understanding of the world that he's in. He has to stop being so annoying. Do you know what I mean? So one of the examples of how we could perhaps make that better, Cavendish hasn't gone to trial yet. Cavendish is on the train going to the trial. So he's going to be the lawyer. That would make more sense than it's like he's already been convicted, but I'm just going to represent him anyway. That doesn't make any sense. But this way, it would make more sense and we would be more sympathetic because it's not like he's completely ignoring the justice system that has already worked. And maybe he doesn't even know. He's just thrown into the case kind of blind. He doesn't know what's going on. Whatever, it could work. Oh, here's the next character. Yay, evil mayor! Name a mayor from a Western who isn't a little bit evil. No, no, no. Here's what I think could be fun, a fun little twist. What if he was on Cavendish's team, like very for real? They're holding the trial where the mayor is so that he can kind of sway public opinion, get him freed, and then they continue to cannibalize the Wild West. That's interesting. That could have been more fun. I don't know. I'm just saying. Next, Cavendish, yay! I mean, this whole movie is just underutilized character after underutilized character. Um, let's see. This is what I basically I think we could keep him a lot the same, right? He was in a bad movie, but he could have been a really good character. This is pretty much like the thesis of the entire presentation. He just could have been better. It's a shame that he wasn't. I wrote this, I just sat down and was like, maybe it could be like this. And I haven't thought about it since, but I can read it to you. Cavendish perhaps hasn't had a fair trial yet. Like I said before, this is what's going to make the Lone Ranger more sympathetic, and what's going to kind of provide some intrigue between Cavendish and the mayor and the Lone Ranger, et cetera, et cetera. So he's on the train in the beginning because he's going to trial. So he meets Armie Hammer and tells him a sympathetic story to convince him that he's been wrongfully convicted. That's why he wants to represent him in court, not because he hasn't had a fair trial, like in the sense that he didn't have a trial at all, but in the sense that he doesn't think it's fair because Cavendish lies to him and says they got the wrong guy. So he believes him and he wants to fight for his freedom and they like escape the trade, but whatever. Then they run into the other Rangers in the canyon. One of them is still Dan Reed. John Reed was on the train not to find Cavendish, but to visit his brother. So they meet up and he's like, hey, that's my brother. But then, uh-oh, things still go awry. They still get attacked in the canyon. Cavendish reveals his true nature. John barely escapes and meets Tonto. And so he has to convince Tonto that he's not on Cavendish's side anymore because Tonto's like, why were you with that guy? So then there's that kind of like intrigue of like they both have accidentally sacrificed their morals and their loved ones to Cavendish, and now they have to band together to overcome that and make things right. I mean, maybe you can read it. I've kind of skimmed through this. Genuinely, I didn't think about this at all before this slide, and I haven't thought about it since, but it still makes a lot of sense. Don't you think? They come together, they
Yes, I
defeat the
absolutely do.
mayor, they defeat Cavendish, and at the end, they're like, we can be better than this. We can be the new, he's going to be
The
the new ranger.
secret gun?
And
I hadn't.
also, don't you think
Yes,
that
I
would
do.
be
I do
cool?
think
Because
actually. I do really think.
in the final fight, he like loses an arm. And they're like, hey, you know who I know who's also lost a limb in a skirmish with Cavendish and the evil mayor? Helena Bonham Carter from the beginning of the movie, baby.
Oh,
So then
yes.
that would be cool. Two separate people with prosthetic limbs that are guns.
That are guns. Yeah. And
Hmm.
why stop at two? Really, if you think about the cinematic universe, we can continue to go with that like let's just keep this train rolling.
Right. Let's see
Everybody
how many
gets
characters we can have. Everyone gets a gun. And that it could still be, I think, like something that could have been interesting about this character is if he had that like anti-gun thing that just isn't really explained in the 2013 movie. He could still have that. And then over
Mhm.
time, he has to like overcome it. Maybe they come up with really creative ways to overcome Cavendish, but at the end of the day, he's like, well, I lost my arm. Maybe I'll just turn it into a gun, like Helena Bonham Carter,
Hell yeah,
because she was cool, you know?
because she's cool. Yeah. I like
He,
that. I like the idea that he gets over his like anti-violence policy by being that's pretty sick though. I'm not
yeah,
gonna lie.
yeah.
It's pretty
It's
cool.
like, well, hang on. Maybe, maybe she ate that one thing. But he still, of course, is going to maintain his principles. In fact, he's going to become even more moral, right? Because he learns from this mistake that could have cost the lives of like who knows how many people, right?
Yeah.
Interesting. Could have been cool. So, to conclude, obviously, this movie was just trying to be too many things and ended up not being them. I think it could have tried to just be a Western horror comedy and
Yeah.
done that really well. That's a combination that I think works. I don't think we see enough of it. And it could have been cool. If this movie was good, it would have been good, is what I'm
It would have
saying.
been. Yeah.
My
Mhm.
second conclusion is like, why wasn't I asked to do this? Why did they make the movie without consulting me? Why does anybody make a movie without consulting me? It's ridiculous.
I
That's the
agree.
end.
I really liked it.
Yay.
I I am glad
Thanks.
because I didn't have hardly any of those ideas down and I was like a little worried if we had come up with the exact same idea then it would look e- boring and also like we had cheated.
Like we cheated. Yeah.
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 But
But
no, we care about
thankfully,
this too much, damn it.
this thankfully this movie is so bad that any number of people could come up with a new plot, and each new plot would be better than the movie.
Than what they did. Yeah, this is like what
Mhm.
Jack was saying about the Star Wars sequels is I still believe you have a choice. You can any choice you make is better than what they did. And like in that case, no, because they were
Mhm.
boxed in. But in this case, the world is literally your oyster.
Yeah,
They had all of the right elements. And
yeah. And the source material, I mean, there's several movies, there's a TV show, I think there's books
there's a
about the Lone
radio
Ranger. Like,
show.
it's not like he
Yep.
had to make up a new story for it to be interesting. It's been interesting to
No.
people for like 100 years.
Yeah. Yeah. It has been.
Like, you
Yeah.
didn't have to do all that. But if you were going to, you could have at least done it good.
Yeah, I really like I totally agree. I mean we talked about Ravenous when we talked about the Lone Ranger in the first place, but that is a movie that does do Western horror comedy perfectly. I'm not going to hear any
Oh,
arguments
so,
about that.
so
It does it
well. Like,
perfectly.
there's a
It is the
lot of the
most
same elements,
horrifying thing.
but one of them is good.
One of them is good. Yeah.
Yeah. And the other
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
stars Johnny Depp. So I'm
The
just
other
saying.
so you don't even have to include the gay stuff. You don't have like that's not a requirement. The movie is good without that too. This movie could have been like
If they were brave,
the,
they could have
if
done
they were
something
brave.
good.
You know what happened here is Antonia Bird died in 2013. So they couldn't like
They had
I
no
didn't
chance to make
no
a
they could
good Western horror comedy about expansionism and cannibalism.
and
It had
cannibalism. Yeah,
already
they
been done, and they couldn't even refer to her for guidance.
no. I'm almost certain that there was someone on the cast who was like, actually, I know a guy. And then they called and she was dead, and so then that person got fired. That's what happened in my head.
I
So
think anybody who mentioned a better movie probably got fired. Like, who does it
yeah.
kind of like? And they're like, don't say another word.
Did they get fired or did they get killed?
You get fired as a warning.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm
I
interested. I'm
really
glad
liked
that we
it.
don't have a lot of the same elements because it means
Yeah.
it'll just be like an entirely new adventure when I
Yes,
watch
it
your
is.
ideas.
I
Yay.
also had two different ways to do it as well. So I thought
Nice.
that would be kind of fun.
That's
Let
so
me
funny how we'll watch a bad movie and think of at least four ways that it could have been better.
I really believe that we should be the only ones allowed to do this.
Yes, me too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, I am too. Here we go. How I would have fixed it. Um, okay, so I decided let's just start from the ground up with this thing. Let's just recast everybody. So here I
Smart.
started, and this is where I
Okay.
went. I decided let's just
Hmm.
get rid of Army Hammer. I went back to 2013. I was like, let's see what we can do. I didn't remember when Captain America: The First Avenger came out, but in this universe where this movie gets made, that one, well, maybe it still got made, but I think they just stopped at Avengers 2012. I think that was the last one they did. So
That
Chris
was really
Evans,
smart of them.
I know, right? How beautiful. Chris Evans is
Yeah.
still an incredibly talented actor, and he gets
Hmm.
this chance to do something new, something fresh.
Cool. Yeah. And he's
Yeah,
still like a big enough name. People are gonna come and watch this movie because he's in it.
exactly. Yeah, but
Smart.
he is
Yeah.
a genuinely talented actor, much like Armie Hammer, just
Hmm.
without the unfortunate cannibalistic tendencies. Um, Michael Spears, I found him through one search of Native American male actors under the age
Hmm.
of 40. So
Yeah,
I
it's like not that hard is the thing.
no, no. I didn't know any prominent Native American actors because they're not getting cast in things because they keep casting Johnny Depp. But this is what I did with just about 30 seconds worth of research. So I really think that some like
Mhm.
probably a top
And I
Hollywood
think,
exec could have
yeah,
maybe potentially done
they
put
could
that
have
amount of
maybe
effort
thought
in,
about it.
but they
I
could
think
have, but they
even just
didn't.
looking at these pictures, I can imagine them having really good on-screen chemistry.
Right?
I
Yeah.
can see it.
I've looked through
Yeah.
Michael Spears' IMDb page. He's got some pretty impressive credits. Also he's stunning man. He's
Yeah.
beautiful. I didn't even pick the best picture of him to use on this, but like even
Yeah.
like
But like
look at
tell me
them.
that
They'd
you
be
would rather watch a Donnie Depp movie than a movie with this guy.
and
Ridiculous.
full facial makeup too. Like
Hmm.
no, let him exist in his regular face. I love it. Also, so I like that you didn't do research into the original property because I did. So like we get that
Yeah, yeah, because I want it to
you
be
see?
I'm just fixing 2013.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to see because clearly someone had done some amount of research for the 2013 movie.
Mhm.
I think they were one of the people who were killed, unfortunately, before the movie was able to continue because Butch
Mhm.
Cavendish is the name of the first villain that John Reed ever hunted down. The origin story is structurally pretty similar. Um, Oh, well, I'll get into that in a minute. Anyway, Chris Evans and Michael Spears, well, John Reed and Tonto, if you will, they are
I will.
childhood best friends. They grew up together. So they're like kind of
Okay.
buddies.
I
Um,
like that. Why not?
yeah, sure. They already have a really strong foundation. Tonto also was good friends with Dan. He was, Dan was a little bit older than the two of them, but
Mhm.
he kind of looked out for them a little bit, and the three of them grew up to be pretty close. Rachel McAdams, I recast Rebecca. Ruth Wilson, I kept in the movie. Dan's wife is Linda. That was her name in all of the original properties, and I don't know why they changed it to Rebecca and made her fall in love with John. That was just an entirely new invention that they
Yeah,
inserted in there, and I hated it. So
that's
Rachel
weird.
McAdams is Rebecca, who is John's fiance.
Okay,
Um,
I like it.
yeah. Uh, James Badge Dale, I kept him cast as Dan Reed. And Ruth Wilson, like I said, is Linda Reed, Dan's wife. They are pregnant. They're expecting their very first baby. She's about 8 months along, so she's very pregnant. They're all both very excited. Um, and moving on, we have Bill Nye as mayor villain. I don't know. Yeah,
Yes.
that's right. You knew this was coming. You knew this was coming.
Yeah.
It is a
Yeah.
Western, and we have an evil mayor villain. It has to be Bill Nye, right? Obviously. Obviously.
Yeah.
I don't know who the other guy was. He did not make an impression on me. I don't care. I liked this guy, though. William Fichtner.
Hmm.
He was
I can see
scary.
that.
Yeah, yeah. So we begin the movie with John is escorting Butch back to Colby from his trial. He's bringing Butch back to be executed. John is excited to come back. He's already a Texas Ranger. He's already a lawman. This is his hometown. He's excited to go back to see Rebecca, his fiance. Um, he's excited to see Dan and Linda for, baby reasons. Um, he's excited to get his life going. If you remember, no, go back. No, wait, go back, go back. How do I make it
I'm
go
not
back?
looking yet. I'm not looking yet. It's okay.
So, Rachel, I put in here Rebecca, I put possibly the mayor's daughter. I don't know. But potentially that was something that was going to be a plot point there. My two potential routes, if we are going funny comedy, like the Mask of Zorro type beat, then we can have
Mhm.
like a silly, goofy, not like super silly, but like a little bit more fun escape scene for Butch Cavendish, where John makes a crucial error and lets him go. Um, but if we're doing horror, I thought we really lean into the dark grittiness of this, and Butch is ostensibly successfully executed by all. Yep, yeah.
Okay.
He appears to be completely dead, hanged at the neck. Um, but then later, let's say like the next day, his body is discovered missing, which is very concerning because now the Texas Rangers have to go out and see. They think that his body has been removed by like his old crew, and they're gonna like I don't know. I'm not entirely sure what the game was, what the potential game was there, but the Texas Rangers have to go out and find his band who have presumably stolen Butch Cavendish's body. But they get out into the middle of nowhere, and the ambush happens in the ravine. Everyone is shot and killed. John somehow survives barely, but he stays alive to see Butch carve out his heart, carve out Dan's heart, and eat it because Dan was still the one who caught him. In this, Dan
Mhm.
is still extremely likable. It's just that him and Linda have a very healthy relationship and they're very much in love, which is obvious because of course he's going to die. But that's
Yes.
that's obviously. Tonto arrived to town a little bit late, but he was on his way to greet John as he arrived back to town after a couple months absence. And so he goes off to catch up with the rest of the Rangers, but he arrives after the massacre and sees John struggling to live, helps nurse him back to health over the couple of days. Lost my train of thought. Oh, so John sees that Butch was the one who killed Dan and eated him. Um, so they go back to town and are like, he's alive! Ah! Do you remember in the first Sherlock Holmes movie with Robert Downey Jr.?
No, I didn't
Okay,
watch it.
okay. Um, I was thinking about it. Rachel McAdams is in that movie too. I had
Hmm.
completely forgotten about that. But anyway, there's a plot point in that movie where they're trying to chase like a Satanist or something, and he somehow fakes his coming back like he's killed to death, and then he's like, "Ooh, I'm back," and it's meant to be like, "Oh, the power of the devil," but no, it's just a magic trick. That's what I'm kind of thinking
Uh-huh.
here, where the
Okay.
mayor helped Butch to fake his death. The mayor wanted the appearance of Butch having been killed and successfully executed. John wasn't supposed to survive, but they wanted this like image of Butch's band of criminals who like stole his body back just for them to have, but no one was supposed to know that Butch actually did survive. Um, I'm having a hard time,
Do you feel like dizzy or lightheaded at all, or just like foggy?
like kind of lightheaded.
Hmm.
I didn't think this movie was that bad.
Yeah, it's poisoning you.
Okay. Everything is fine, and I've got it. Here we go.
Okay, cool.
John and Tonto go back to town Tonto and Rebecca are like, something's not quite right here. Something's like a little bit off. They're both like picking up a little bit of shady signals. Um, Rebecca tries to talk to her dad about it, but he brushes her off because what do women know, really? And
So
also
true.
he's not so secretly behind it because we've all seen a Western movie, we know. Um,
Hmm.
and they after John takes a few more days to fully recover, um, oh, he also has to break the news to Linda. Oh, that's devastating. That's got to be so hard for him. I'm sure that's really sad.
Yeah.
But they go after the crew. Um, maybe my thing here is that John, I liked that he was very like hopeful and optimistic and had a lot of like a very strong belief in the justice system, in the US military, like all of these things. I liked that, and I liked that the story is him kind of becoming disillusioned with that and learning,
Hmm.
okay, that's not always what justice is. That's not always how that goes. Oh, my other thing was if I think if we go with the darker story, then that's the one where John doesn't use guns, and then we have the
Hmm.
like arc of him learning that sometimes justice is like it does require the loss. It's the Laban principle.
Hmm.
We've all read the
Yeah.
Book of Mormon. With Tonto too, here was my thought here was that he has a very small like band, not very small,
Hmm.
but like fairly small. Um, and they are all like half of them are it's a mess. They're all kind of pushed off their land, and we later find out it's because this is the thing. This is the driving force behind the movie. I didn't like that it was silver the first time. This is right at the start of the oil boom in America. I figured this can
Hmm.
be the thing because oil is, I think we can all agree, far less sexy than silver is. So it's not
Yeah,
even
that's
like it's a
true.
cool thing. It's just gross. And also, that way, at the end of the movie, when John has his horse named Silver and he goes, "Hi ho, Silver, away!" Then it's like, well, you named your horse after Silver, the thing that killed Tonto's entire people twice.
Yeah, that is
You did that
weird.
on purpose. So I figured
And
that this can be,
it seems like, they know because everybody knows Hi-Ho Silver. That's what cowboys say. I
yeah,
think that's
and
something that like you don't even have to do the research into the Lone Ranger. You just
mhm,
know that those things are kind of go together. The Lone
yeah,
Ranger, oh, his horse is named Silver. So I think that like my theory is that Gore Verbinski and plus whoever like wrote it or whatever, I'm blaming it on Verbinski. They like heard of that and they're like, cool, we should make the whole movie about Silver and like didn't think about the consequences of that. They just were thinking
yeah.
about the word silver. They're like, how can we incorporate it into the plot of the movie?
They just misunderstood.
Yeah, that's
No,
my
Silver's the
suspicion.
horse. Silver was the horse first, not the other way around.
Before, not because he wouldn't name his horse after a bad thing that killed people.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, it's just a normal horse. It's not a magical horse. I don't know what the hell that was. It's just a normal horse. It
Right,
doesn't
like the
climb
horse that
trees.
like appears in a vision or whatever.
No, there's
People
no magic
ride
in this. There's no
horses.
supernatural elements. I think even in the dark one, we'll allude to it, but not really. There are no like. It's just a couple of jackass guys in power. That's all it's
Hmm.
ever gonna be,
Hmm.
right? That's always gonna be the bad guy.
So true.
Ravenous has the supernatural elements on lock. Let's just see what it's like without them. No supernatural
Hmm.
elements, no Wendigo. Just like if we want, we can have them eat the heart. Like it
Right.
wouldn't
But just because he's evil,
just because he's evil and
I think
crazy.
that's good enough,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
Another element that I had forgotten until after our conversation about the Lone Ranger is in the Zorro movie, the blonde American general
Hmm.
also is a cannibal.
Yeah, it's
So
pretty much like
yeah,
they were like, what if we made Zorro but worse? And they
but
made this
worse.
movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
And
exactly what
using
happened.
the IP of a very beloved American story.
Sure. Oh, the other
Yeah.
thing that I was gonna say is that You didn't watch the end of the movie because you value your life and sanity, but there is a
Mhm.
scene at the end. I think it's a mid-credit scene where John Reed like rears up on the horse and says, "Hi ho, Silver, away!" And then Tonto's like, "Never do that again." Like it's the grossest, most cringy thing he's ever seen. And we already talked about how
Irony
like
poisoning is killing America.
it is literally. Yeah. I'm gonna end this
Mhm.
because I don't have any more slides.
Okay,
How do I make it go?
that's okay. I think that's a good ending of like it was always about the oil and the
It was always
cruelty
about
of
the
capitalism.
oil.
I think that
That's
that makes
literally what
more sense.
every Western is about. Oh, the other thing. Okay, so here's how the movie ends, right? I really just thought about the beginning and the ending. I didn't really care about the middle.
That's fine.
Um
I don't
I
think it
think
matters. Even just
great.
having a beginning and an end for like a 20-minute movie would be a better movie.
Yes, yes. Absolutely true. Um okay, so they find out that the evil mayor is evil. And helping Butch. I think Evil Mayor, John and Tonto corner him at the oil rig, and they make the oil rig collapse in on itself. And Evil Mayor is
Cool.
killed to death under the collapsing
Cool.
oil rig. Because I liked that
I
element where
like
he's
that.
buried under the weight of his own sins. They did that in the
Hmm.
Lone Ranger. That was one of the things that worked. Unfortunately, it was in the Lone Ranger, and so it didn't work because it
Yeah.
sucked. But
Yeah.
I liked the idea of him being buried and drowning in oil. Ooh, that's just visceral and
I like
I love it. I do too. Um, I like the idea that Butch is subdued and not killed to death. The mayor is killed to death, but Butch
mhm.
is subdued and they have him like tied up in the prison in Colby. And John just kind of leaves the door unlocked for a little bit so that Linda can then go in and kill him to death herself because he killed her husband to death.
Cool. So
So she
then it's
gets
like
to do that.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So John doesn't
Cool.
have to do it because he doesn't have to kill so we don't have to see the hero like executing a man,
Right.
but it's a woman
Right.
doing it and so it's fair and
And
beautiful.
so it's cool.
Yeah. 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 So I like that. I think that would be good. Um I also think that here was the other thing. Um the idea that John was okay, we have another two options here. Either John was framed before they killed Evil Mayor to death, and so now he
Yeah.
has to protect his identity forever because he's wanted, he's a wanted man, or
Yes.
alternatively, no, actually I like that. Well, we're just gonna keep
I
that.
like that.
Um
Yeah.
yeah.
A masked
Um
ranger
yeah, yeah.
because he's also wanted. That's so good. Yeah.
Like
He's the only
Batman.
trustworthy. He's enforcing the law. He cares about justice, but then he
Yeah.
also is wanted.
Yes. Yes, 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 yes,
Hmm.
yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
fun.
Exactly. Exactly. But he is in love with Rebecca. But we get to the end of the movie and they look at each other and it's like the end of Batman Begins a little bit where it's like, I can't stay. And she's like, I know.
Hmm.
Here's where the division happens. Here's where the two options. Either she turns evil and bitter because he killed her dad to death, which I like because she gets to be evil. And I think that could be a fun setup for a
We
potential
need
sequel.
more evil women in
We need more evil
Western.
women. I'm literally always saying that.
Yay!
Absolutely. Or we can have well, she's like, she realized her dad was evil. And so she's like, he was evil. I'm not happy about the fact that you killed him. And therefore, I must end our engagement so that you can be free to
Right.
go and do all these things. Like, it's a little bit
Because
more
I think there's too much
self-sacrificing.
intrigue in their families are too intertwined anyway. Like, my dad caused your
Hmm.
brother's death, and so then you killed my dad. And like,
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
now what? We're supposed to get married and like help raise this little niece or nephew and be like, hey, guess
Oh,
why
yeah.
your dad and grandpa are dead? That would be weird. That would
It
be
would
kind
be
of
weird.
tough to reconcile. So I think either
Yeah,
way it would
exactly.
work.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
It just depends on I think the vibe of that day of shooting,
Yeah.
how we'd want to go with it, really. But
We could
I think
film
Rachel,
two endings
we could, like they did with
and then
that
just
one Chris
release them
Pine and
separately
Tom
like
Hardy movie.
Clue.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I
So then
like
everybody
that.
has a different idea of how it ended.
Oh, that's really good. That's really good. Yeah. That's it. The other thing that I had in mind for Tonto was that his mom is killed. And so that
Okay.
gives him more, it removes his attachment from town so that he also is free to move. But I don't like the idea of killing another woman. I couldn't do
Mm-mm.
that to them. I couldn't do that. So I don't know. Tonto didn't get much
I think
development,
it could
but
be that he, because he's a native, but he grew up with this kind of white family and they were best friends. It could
Mhm,
be that he was already like an orphan as a baby and somebody in the village
mhm,
took him in.
mhm.
So he's raised in this like predominantly white town.
I got it. What if
Okay.
what if Red raised him?
And then she can
So
be there too.
so Red can be there too. I didn't have a place for her,
That's so
but then Red
good.
gets to be there, and also
Red
he's
gets
like
to
a
be there.
double. People
And
don't
then I feel like
trust
there's
him because
conflict of
he's
like,
the son of a prostitute.
right. And there's
Yeah.
conflict in like he was raised in a white household, but he still wants to connect to like his indigenous heritage, even though he never knew his parents. There's a lot there. And see how easy it is to come up with a better movie.
We're
We just
literally
did that.
just
We
two
just
people.
spitballed that right now.
Just right now, just within the two of us, we are perfect. Give us a movie. Damn it.
Please. Yeah,
It's so like I don't
that
know. It's
that
so
rock.
easy. It's so easy.
It
I
is.
love it.
Can
We
I
could yeah.
Oh, I just was gonna tell you, you remember how I told you about that early 80s Czechoslovakian film about the car that runs on human
That
blood?
runs on human blood. I
Yeah.
remember. Yes, I
The
do.
main villain of that movie, I have to tell you, is a middle-aged German lesbian. Why not?
Diversity win. Yes. I love that.
Oh, I was like, this rocks. That's a good movie.
How does it run on human blood? Do you put it in the gas tank?
It's like the car is a vampire. So you know how you hear of vampires draining people of their blood slowly, just
Yeah.
through their neck, a little bit at a time. The
Yeah.
car takes it through the bottom of their foot as they're driving.
Ooh. How much? Like, is it like it kills them super quick or like a
It
little
doesn't
bit
kill
goes a
them
long way?
super quick. It doesn't kill them
Hmm.
super. A little bit
Okay.
goes a long way, but then when the body is eventually found, because it gets to the point where they find it hard to break because they almost become one with the
Ooh.
car.
Ooh.
They keep their
Spooky.
foot on the gas
Spooky,
and
spooky,
it's eating
spooky.
them, but they're like loving it because they get to, whatever. It's like, whoo,
It's like one of those parasites that makes ants go crazy.
yeah,
Do you know the ones I'm
yeah.
talking about?
And I think
That
it like
hate that, by the
it
way.
is like that, and it really ties into like the eroticism of like vampires a lot of the time when people will be victims of vampires, but they're like kind of into it. It's that, but with
Uh,
a car. Because this is an Eastern European film from the early 80s. Okay, so it's weird. And it rocks. Yeah, basically, okay. So they
we
eventually somebody
stopped
dies
making
from it,
movies. Yeah,
and
okay.
they go to the morgue to investigate, and it's like
Yeah, baby.
they say, oh, the person lost too much blood, but we didn't see any injuries except on their foot, where it looked like their foot had a bite out of it. Because over time, the foot like melds with the car.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's really good. I like
It's
that.
actually really good. It's like low-key genius.
That's like horrifying. That's like what's that one Lindsay Lohan movie where the car came? Is it Kirby? Is that a thing? It's like that one, but if that one was a vampire.
The
Yeah.
minds of these creators, to be like, because the idea of like, what if there was a car that was a vampire? It could be so goofy, but when you're watching this movie, you're like into it. You're like, what's gonna happen?
This is what we're talking about with irony poisoning. Come here, baby. Is like if you don't take your subject material seriously, no one else will either. So like,
Mhm,
yeah, it's a silly premise. You might think vampire car
mhm.
drinks your blood through your feet, but
But
you
then
take that
it actually
seriously
ends up being cool. Like you take
and
it seriously and
horrifying.
you care about what's going on, and it like honestly is commentary on like consumerism and how people will know that something is bad for them and buy it anyway because it's cool.
They continue to do it. Yeah. On that subject, a video about the Lorax soundtrack came up in my YouTube recommendeds this week. It's
Cool.
2024.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
that's all I
And
had to
it's
say about
late
it.
2024 too. It's
It's like we're
November
almost
now.
in 2025. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's I mean, like that's crazy, right?
Yeah. Was it like a recent video too?
Yeah. Like a new one just posted.
Cool.
Yeah. It
I
was about
love
how
that.
they have a cut song called Biggering, and they were like, this song would have saved the Lorax, and it wouldn't have. They were like, I know it's a clickbait title, I just need to get people in here. But they
Right.
made some good
Yeah.
points about like these are the other things that we needed to change about it. But this song is so much better than the one they went with in the movie. And it is. I
Mm,
listened to it. It's good. It's
yeah.
and that was the other thing that pissed me off is because I watched the video because I was like the Lorax, but then I was like, damn, they made some good points. Now I'm gonna find the song. So then I, again, the year of 2024, searched up a song from the Lorax.
Yeah. A
It's on my
deleted song from the
deleted
Lorax.
song. Yeah. So that's like
Yeah.
more embarrassing. And
Yeah.
I'm just freely admitting it. It's whatever.
What I love about that is that it's comforting that we are not the only people who in 2024 are talking about like obscure pieces of media, old pieces of media that nobody cares about anymore, etc. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's one thing to watch like a review of a movie that just came out, but I so much more appreciate when people are talking about like cult classics, movies that were really big in the box office 10 years ago, but now nobody remembers them and things like that, you know, and like because this person
Yeah.
they were thinking about it on their own time, not because they were trying to
Yeah.
hop on the trend of like, oh, everybody's talking about Barbie, let's talk about Barbie. They're like, I haven't seen anybody talking about the Lorax, and that's an injustice to me.
And that's
That's
why we
good.
show up to every movie late. That's why we talked about RRR a full year and a half after it first came out.
Hmm. I don't think we want to talk about movies when they're released. We're like, wow, this is really cool. Maybe in like a year from now, we can check in and see if we want to talk about it on the podcast.
Yeah. Well, because
Yeah.
I think the fastest we ever talked about something was the Bar. When did Barbie come out? Came out last summer,
Uh,
right?
yeah.
And we just talked about it this year. So yeah, like
Yeah.
6 months
So it's
at least after,
still
6 to 8 months.
at least a few months. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the
That's
shortest
the
we've ever
fastest
done.
we've ever exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Usually we're like,
that's a promise.
what's the most obscure movie you can think of? Have you ever watched like we're trying to find things that are old, things that are not American,
Yeah.
or both.
Potentially things that are
That's
bad.
what makes a good movie.
Hmm.
Things that are
Things
bad, that's what makes a good movie.
that's when
Like
are
I
we
have to
not
say that
saying
this
that?
other movie that I watched this week, Killer Clowns with a K, Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Have you seen that movie?
No.
It's like it's not even so bad it's good. Maybe I'm just crazy. But it was like genuinely good.
Whoa. Did you see that?
Wow. That was a big jump.
Good. Okay, I'm glad
It's
you
like,
caught it on
okay,
camera.
so it's another thing where like the premise is ridiculous.
Good.
Killer clowns
In
from
space?
outer space.
Good. Good. I
So
thought
they
you
come
said
to
that. I just want
Earth,
to make sure.
and as clowns.
Sure.
But then
Yeah.
the commitment to the bit in this movie is insane. Every single method that they have of like kidnapping and killing people is circus based. All of them. They
Can I
throw
say
pies into a guy's face, you know, cream pies, but it's acid.
murder
So he
pies?
melts.
Yes! Yes!
They have acid pies. They throw
Yes.
popcorn that grows into little tiny creatures.
And it eats people?
And they have cotton candy cocoons to store people when they're dead so that they can drink their blood. They are killer clowns from outer space who live
And
on blood.
vampires? They're like cars.
It like should yeah, that's crazy. This is just like that Cars movie. Cars 2. It was like it should not have been good, but the whole time I was like, I'm so into this.
I love
My
that.
least favorite
I
thing
love
about it is
that.
that one of the
It
main
ends?
characters, yeah, my least favorite thing about it was that it ended. My second least favorite thing about it is that I know that they had to do this because the character has several more scenes in which she is like running and she has to have shoes on.
Hmm.
But there is a scene where she gets out of the shower and gets dressed, and puts her shoes on in her bathroom. And that freaked me out. I did not like that. And it's like,
That's
I know
not
why
good.
they had to
That's not
do it,
good.
but could she not have worn house slippers for the rest of the movie? Could she not have
Yeah,
like worn house slippers and then they come up to like rescue her and she's like, let me change into boots real quick. You know what I mean? Like, why did she have to put on her
yeah.
shoes
In the bathroom, but
fresh
there's
out of the
water
shower?
there,
She
and your
was
skin is
still
damp.
in the bathroom. She
I don't
toweled
like that
off,
at
she
all.
put on her
No,
little cozy sweater,
stop,
and
stop it.
I was like,
No,
come on.
no,
Yeah.
stop. I no
So I
more.
didn't like that. But if you can look past that, it is like genuinely so fun.
Yeah, it's Killer Clowns with a K in space.
Yeah.
From space. I guess they're not in
From
space.
outer space.
Probably
Yeah.
they're not in
They're
space.
in space in the sense that Earth is in space.
That's true. It is. Yeah.
It's really good. The three main characters is like this girl, her current boyfriend, and her past boyfriend. And at the end of it, you know they're a threesome. You can tell.
Yay!
It's like their energy is coming off the screen, and you're like, "Whoa, hey, trying to watch a movie here." Yeah, dude.
Is it a wholesome throuple or
Um, I mean, both of the men really care for Debbie in a very sincere and heartfelt way, but they do also
sweet?
kind of hate each other because they like her, you know? So it's kind of fun.
Arguably the perfect dynamic. Okay, because I was like, either
Because
they all
it's a
three get
love
along really
triangle. Okay,
well
it's
or
not a
they're all
love
like
angle. It's not a love angle where it's two guys, one girl, but the guys don't like each other. It
a
is a love
literal
triangle thing.
triangle. Yeah, I
Hmm.
see. I get it.
Hmm.
I
It's
love
good.
it. I love that. Yeah. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. That is perfect.
And they had absolutely no reason to spell clowns with a K.
I was gonna tell you when you were saying that kidnapping and killing people, I was like, they're probably both spelled with a K too.
Hell yeah, they are.
Probably.
You got that right. You crazy
Hell yeah,
son of a
brother.
bitch.
This is just like Mason all over again. I just make these things up in my head, but sometimes I make things up that are just already true.
True. Like kidnapping, you could spell that with a K.
That sounds wonderful.
It's really, really good.
That sounds like something that Mystery Science Theater would have watched in the day, and I would have watched and been like, "You guys are funny, but like, this actually
Can you
sucks."
shut up? I'm trying to watch this movie.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
one of my very favorites, I think we might have even watched it together. That was is The Beast of Hollow Mountain.
We did.
Um, yeah.
Yeah.
That movie, I love that movie. Like genuinely. I love it. I love that there's a beast in it, but the beast is a giant lizard, which is not the correct definition of beast.
Yeah.
Beast is furry. Okay?
A beast is a mammal.
Beast is like a
A lizard is a
chupacabra of some
creature.
kind. Yeah, or a yeti. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
A lizard is a creature,
sure.
but
Yeah.
it isn't a beast.
It's not a
A
beast.
beast,
No.
it's gotta be a mammal. I mean, that's
It's
a
a
crazy
mammal,
thing to say.
obviously. Yeah. Yeah. And it's only in it for like 30 seconds. It barely even
Yeah.
matters. Why even have a beast at all?
It's awesome. It's just like
It's
Ghoulies,
sick.
where it's like named Ghoulies, but then like they're not really that involved in it. Also, the poster is a ghoulie coming out of a toilet, and that doesn't happen in the movie. There's no toilets at all the
Oh.
whole time. So it's like, why would you put that on the poster? It's misleading.
That's disappointing.
Yeah,
No, we
maybe that
got
happens in Ghoulies too. I haven't seen it yet.
Ghoulies 2, second sequel?
Yeah. I think they have several. There's one where they go to, it's called Ghoulies Go to University or Ghoulies Go to College or something. It's so funny.
You
I
mean
don't know
Monsters
why they would do
University.
that. Or, right. I always get those mixed up.
It's a common mistake. I know it happens all the time. My coworker Jen really likes Monsters University. And like, I don't know. I don't dislike it. I just think that it was unnecessary. And also they butchered Mike Wazowski's character, who is phenomenal on his own. And it makes no sense at all.
Yeah.
But like with this watching it in like isolation, I enjoy it fine. But
Hmm.
it's a weird
But it doesn't make
conversation to
sense as a
have.
sequel.
No, it doesn't. It
Yeah.
doesn't. Mike Wazowski is a selfish, like self-obsessed jackass,
And that's never been his
and we love
character.
him for that.
And also, um, in the first movie they like talk about how they grew up together as children, and then they
Joseph
meet
Macy's
in
in third
college
grade.
in the sequel, and then it's like, well, that doesn't really make sense either,
That's
but
no, that's not true. Yeah.
whatever.
You could have done, if you wanted to do a sequel, you could have done one all the way back from when they were kid. A prequel. You could have done one from when they were kids,
Hmm.
like maybe a small miniature hijink back then, or a
Yeah,
sequel with something later on in the future. But like college, and if you were going to do a college, like just have them already be friends. They don't need to meet in college, just have them already be roommates and besties. And
right,
also, Mike is clearly the one coasting on someone else's coattails. Like it's not that
right.
Sully was
That's
only
always
coasting.
been their dynamic.
Yeah, Mike hates paperwork. Mike is not a diligent, like specific,
Pencil pusher.
we've talked about this before.
Yeah,
They got them mixed up. It's fine. It's because
fine.
someone mislabeled the puce paperwork. And I'm always saying that. I know we were going to talk about Glass Onion,
Hmm.
but I'm not feeling great. Do you mind if we do this maybe tomorrow?
Yeah, that's totally fine. We finally got
Sick.
our fix-its done after like a month, so I would say this is a job well done.
Yeah, well, we needed enough time to A, recover from watching the movie initially, and B, like really sit down. I I really like the idea of the movie being Tonto, like more Tonto focused, because it's
Yeah,
clear that that's what they wanted to do in the 2013 was bring him more into the main role. It's just that they mishandled it for 10,000 reasons, maybe, would you say?
hmm. I
Yeah.
would say probably 10,000 and like two, but it rounds, you know.
Yeah, give or take. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, like I just love the idea of someone struggling with that much guilt. That's why I watched Doctor Who for so many years.
Hmm. Because that's a compelling character.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it certainly is. Yeah.
And Johnny Depp has never once played that character, and he never will.
Who?
Hmm. Exactly.
Johnny Depp is to me what Hattie Mealy, Maddie Healy, it like they're the
Hattie
same type of
Mealy
per
and Johnny Depp.
Hattie Donnie Depp. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like I love the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, and I do think that Johnny Depp is the perfect person to play Captain Jack Sparrow,
Mhm.
but that's all he is to me. He's
Yeah.
just Captain Jack Sparrow to me. And if they were to make those movies today, like not having had them in the past, like of course not. He would not be the perfect role for that. Heavens to
Right.
Betsy, no, no. But back
No,
in the
no.
like, I do think Maddie Healy in the 1975, like yes, that's good, and Captain Jack Sparrow in the yep, those are good. Those are
Mhm.
both two. I am not gonna like tweet out Maddie Healy did no wrong ever.
Right. No, because that's insane and untrue.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's like a little bit of separating the art from the artist, where you're like, I like
Hmm.
this particular piece of art,
Hmm.
regardless of the artist. And it's
Yeah,
not going to make me defend the artist online for anything heinous
never.
that they may or may not have definitely done.
For sure.
For
Uh-huh.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Army Hammer has definitely eaten somebody. That is an official statement of women in STEM. I actually almost cast Sebastian Stan in my Lone Ranger movie.
Mm,
It was a toss-up between him and Chris Evans. Chris Evans won it just because he's got the jawline for it. He's a little bit taller. I think it,
right.
but he is a
Because you
good
have to
actor.
remember that at the end of it, he is going to be wearing a mask for the rest of his career. So it's like who
Yeah,
has the
exactly.
better lower part of the face?
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
famously, Sebastian Stan had that part of his face covered up doing his Marvel role. So like
Mhm.
I couldn't do that. I couldn't. He needs
Yeah, let him show his whole face.
yeah, he's earned it.
Yeah.
I
Full
do
frontal
remember
nudity, I think they call it.
Sebastian Stan to full frontal nudity. When are we not saying this?